And we are live. We are live across two platforms. I'm streaming dual lives today between my YouTube friends and my Facebook friends. And I'm here because it is 3 p.m. and I'm live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Dixie Belle Paint page, talking about all things paint, talking about all things you can do with paint, and letting your little creative heart shine. So welcome, welcome. If you're new joining me for the first time, let me know where you're watching from. I would love to hear where everybody is tuning in from. If you're back again to hang out and play with some paint with me, welcome back. Welcome back. What do we have today? Well, I guess I should introduce myself in case somebody watching doesn't know who I am. My name is Melissa. I am the owner artist here at the Top Drawer RVA, and I'm also a Dixie Belle brand ambassador. So part of my job is getting to have fun and show you all the cool things that you can do with a little bit of fun and paint. So what are we going to do today? We have a new project, but I've got to turn around backwards. Whether it be a potato bin or a trash can, I don't know, but it is solid wood and it's super cute. But today I'm going to use the back of this project to do some demonstrations for everybody. We are going to talk about Dixie Belle's paint products. We're going to talk about prep products, and we are going to talk about all the things that you can do to make over your fun little work. All right, so let's start. So this is a wood box. You can see by these big, look like eyeballs, don't they? These big eyeballs, they're knots in the wood. By these two big knots in the wood that this is probably a pine piece of wood. Don't make me promise you that because I don't know. I know a lot about a lot of things, but I can't guarantee that this is pine. It might be pine, but the fact that it has these giant little knots on it makes me think that it's pine. So we're going to talk about what 3 lines Dixie Belle Paint carries. We're going to talk about what you would do to prime this piece and get it ready for paint. I'm going to talk about my favorite brushes with each style of paint, and we're even going to talk about sealers today. So this is the perfect video to watch or tune into or to share to your friends if they are new to painting anything. All right, let's dive in. As always, I do a lot of talking. I don't see the questions if there's questions or comments that fly by, but I will always come back in afterwards and rewatch and let you know the answer if I can. And I'm also available for you to reach out to me at the Top Drawer across all social media, and you can ask your questions that way as well. I hear my dogs. I locked my dogs out of the room today, and they're pushing on the door. Like I hear them in the background being mischievous and troublesome, but we'll ignore them. If you hear noise, it's just puppy dogs back there trying to bust in and play with some paint. All right, so let's jump in. First things first, this pine, possibly, piece of furniture is going to need an extra step in my prep. Do you guys know why something like this might need a primer? If you know why, you can drop in the comments below. I often have people that are watching that are super smart cookies and that can answer the questions for me. So this being like a shiny varnish over a pine, and these knots are notorious for bleeding tannins through, would require an extra step in my prep. Normally when you're using chalk mineral paint, you just clean with white lightning, you rinse with water, and you jump right in, right? You might do a sand scuff if you're using silk all-in-one mineral paint, or you might do it if your piece is just a little bit shiny. You think, oh, I want to give it a little tooth, a little something to grab onto. But in this case, on this piece, I would say I would need to prime because of this and because of that shine. So what is a primer and what do you do with it? Well, you are lucky ducks because Dixie Belle has made this new product that I am in love with. Chef's kiss. Mwah. Love this, and I use it all the time. So I paint in this room. It looks like just a wall, right? But this is actually my old dining room. I transform my dining room, put doors on it, and I paint in here every day, all day. So that means I don't want to do any sanding. I don't want to sand in my house. I mean, I have a beautiful Surf Prep sander, and it sucks up majority of my dirt. But in general, sanding is not my favorite thing to do. So if I can skip it, I'm going to skip it. And this product right here allows me to skip my sanding. So what is it and why do I love it and why would you use it? Bond & Boss comes in 3 colors: clear, white, and gray. You can use them all for different reasons. They all have a kind of a different place in my world. But if you were to ask me, I like the white and I like the gray, okay? So Bond & Boss is your problem solver primer. There's no more, what if this? What if this? How do I use? What do I do? You use this and you cover all of your bases. This fixes everything. This is an adhesion primer, as well as a stain blocking primer all in one. Okay, this is like the Mac Daddy of primers. You're not going to get any better than this. So you would take this bonding primer, which is going to allow you to paint on anything shiny, slick, metal, plastic, whatever it is that you think, my paint might not stick. If you put this on, it's going to stick. Also, these big knots of wood are going to be then blocked from producing any tannins and pushing those tannins out through your paint, okay? So in real life, if this wasn't a teaching video, in real life, this little box would get 2 even coats of bonding boss, and I would wait 24 hours before I begin to paint, okay? Waiting that 24 hours before you paint is essential because you're wanting this product to get nice and cured and hard on your piece, all right? So bonding boss available in clear, white, and gray. I like to apply it with a throwaway brush because I do not like to wash my bonding boss down the drain, all right? And I would make sure that my bonding boss has cured for 24 hours before I paint with any paint product. So let's jump in. You would clean first with White Lightning. And FYI, did y'all know that Dixie Belle now makes White Lightning in a ready-to-use bottle with a spray bottle? I used to buy the powder and mix it myself, but hello, you're saving me time and energy by sending it to me just like this. I no longer have to go look for a special bottle. I no longer have to mix it up myself. It's right there, ready to go. So give it a try. If you didn't know that's out there, totally out there now. You can also find all of these products that I'm using in the description. Whether or not you are shopping online or looking for your local retailer, you can find Dixie Belle all around the world. All right, let's jump in. So now that I've cleaned my piece of White Lightning, I've primed my piece with my bonding primer, I have to pick a paint, right? And then that's like a hard job to do because did you know that Dixie Belle has 3 lines of paint? And I love all 3 for totally different reasons. And we're going to talk about them all today. Today's video is not going to be a lot of painting. It's going to be a lot of talking. So if you don't like to listen to me talk, there's a mute button, or you could just skip this one. But I'm going to teach you a lot of really fun stuff and why I like each kind of paint. So should we start with my favorite? Should we start with my most favorite paint? Do you know me? If you're a Top Drawer RVA follower, what do you guess? What do you think my most favorite paint is out of the 3 Dixie Belle paint lines? Because I have one. I have a favorite. Let's see. Allie's there. She has bonding boss in her paintbrush, and she just pops it into a plastic bag and keeps it. Smart cookie. So Allie is saying she opens her bonding boss. She uses a chip brush, which I have right here. So she uses a chip brush, and she wraps it up in some plastic wrap or a baggie and puts it aside. You can even put it in your fridge and reuse it again and again and again. I do that as well in between my coats of bonding boss for sure. But it's always nice to know, don't wash that down your drain. Keep it on your throwaway disposable brushes and reuse them if you can by wrapping them in plastic. Hey, Sally, hot tip, hot tip. Back to business. Oh, I almost showed you my secret. What paint do you think is my favorite paint? I mean, you guys know. If you know me, you know what my favorite paint is. I like heavy. I like grunge. I like texture. I like layering and dirting it up. So that means this is my favorite color. This is my favorite kind of paint. Okay, Terra clay paint. Let's talk about Terra clay paint because this is my jam. This is my favorite. And actually, I'm overdue to be creating another piece in Terra because I haven't done it in like over a month and it's making me itchy. I need to get out there and get my hands in this paint. So what is clay paint? What is clay paint? And why is it different than all the other paints? Because it's literally clay in the paint. Okay? Clay in the paint. So when you think of regular paint, you think, oh, it's nice and smooth and even and you can pour it around and it's just so viscous. There's my word of the day. This paint has a lot more texture. This paint is thick like pudding. This paint has heavy pigment. This paint is reactivated by water. You can actually take your dried out Terra, mash it up with some water, and make some amazing textured paint. This paint goes on anything. I've put it on metal. I put it on wood. I put it on plastic. I put it on picture frames, furniture. It's gone everywhere. I've even painted my fireplace with Terra clay paint. When it dries, it has a super matte finish. When this dries, I'm gonna tip this without trying to tip the paint out. Dun, dun, dun. Can you see the lighter value around the edge of the dried paint versus the paint inside my can? That, my friends, is the dried color you get. It looks like clay. It looks like terracotta. It has like, it doesn't bounce any light. It just holds its pigment. So I'm not going to lie. When I tell you that this is my favorite paint, you'll hear me say it all the freaking time. Terra clay paint rocks my world. So 18 beautiful colors, vibrant, okay? Vibrant colors. But you have to know a couple things about Terra clay paint. Because it is a clay-based paint, there is a slight earthy smell. There's not zero VOCs, okay? Because the other paints have no VOCs, which means no smell, no problem, no worries. Same for this, but there's just a slight, like it literally smells like the earth. It smells like the outside when you walk outside in your bare feet. So this clay paint can be reactivated with water. You need to know that you need to seal your Terra clay paint. And when I talk about sealing your Terra clay paint, you can seal it with either Dixie Belle's Terra Tough or Terra, let me see if I can get all the things out of here. So many things. Terra Tough or Terra Matte, okay? So this matte sealer is made specifically for Terra clay paint. When you're finished painting and it's all dry, you would gently apply this matte sealer and it's going to keep that nice matte finish. They also have Terra Tough, which does have like a little bit of a shine to it, just a little bit of a shine, and they both work equally well. I do think the Terra Tough is a little bit stronger. So if you're putting this in the top of a dresser, I would probably use Terra Tough over Terra Matte. But Dixie Belle's Terra clay paint has its very own sealer, okay? Just so you know. So let's talk about it. This thick, this viscous, this beautiful clay paint goes on a little bit differently. And I like to apply my Terra clay paint with a brush that has natural bristles, okay? Why should I use a natural bristle brush over a smooth brush? Because when I put Terra clay paint on something, I dab it on. I create little peaks and valleys. You can build layers of paint and then pull those layers back. You can get the most perfect drippy, grungy finishes with Terra. This paint is also available in 4-ounce sizes. So if you have not tried it before and you're like, I'm a little nervous, I don't know what to do, I want to try it, you can try it in those 4-ounce sizes. And those 4-ounce sizes have so much paint in them that you're going to be able to paint a ton of stuff. So my favorite brush for applying Terra clay paint is a natural fiber brush, whether it be a throwaway chip brush, because it still has that same kind of rough bristles, or this French tip, which I use the heck out of a French tip when I do Terra clay paint. French tips, the best brush. Not expensive, super durable, super great, and perfect for Terra. When you see me paint with Terra, the thing that I say is anybody can do this, because look at how I'm doing this. I should do a Terra challenge of painting with my eyes closed, because you're dabbing on the color. You're not going in and being exact. You're not like going fine line and details and trying to get it all smooth. This is not the paint for that. This is a true artisan paint that allows you to create really beautiful faux finishes. Things like stone, things like texture, things like boho design. I create pieces that look like you drag them out of the ocean or from a haunted chateau. So now you know a little bit more about Terra clay paint and how to apply it and what my favorite brush is. Just remember, Terra clay paint has 18 colors, okay? And if you're going to start blending colors, the trick would be to stay within the same color value. If I wanted to blend 3 Terra colors and make them look so good, I would choose something like Prairie Dawn, Wheat, and Onyx. See, same neutral color values. Or Blue Moon, London Blue, and Blue Agave. Those 3 colors blend beautifully together. Or you could even do like a pink, Prairie Dawn, and a Moonbeam. So Bougainvillea, Prairie Dawn, and Moonbeam, those 3 together look so good. So 18 gorgeous colors, rich pigment, buildable layers. Apply it with a natural bristle brush, remembering that it must be sealed with Terra Tough. So this is my favorite paint. Be prepared when I paint something with it next week, because I'm jonesing for a Terra piece. It needs to happen. So I'm going to put this one on the floor. We're going to move into the next paint. All right. So Dixie Belle has a paint line that has a couple of different things built into it. Have you heard about silk all-in-one mineral paint? Anybody? Anybody? Silk all-in-one mineral paint has beautiful coverage, beautiful colors, a built-in top coat, and a built-in primer. So do you remember when I was talking to you about a primer that you might use to doubly protect these knots before you begin to paint on it? If I wasn't concerned too much about like strength value, thinking, this piece has knots, I probably should use a primer. But if it didn't have these knots and it just had some funky little stains or maybe some strange little like bleed through marker pieces on it or something, I would go for silk, okay? Because silk has that built-in top coat, built-in primer. Tons of colors with silk all mineral paint. I actually don't even have the updated amount for you because new ones come out all the time. We had the National Park palette come out last year and it has beautiful bold colors. I think there was like 5, 6 colors. So I don't even know off the top of my head how many silk mineral paint colors there are anymore because there's so many. What do I use silk for and what would I paint with it? Well, you can paint anything with silk all mineral paint, but this paint has something in it that the other paints don't have. It's mildew resistant. You know what that means? That makes this paint amazing for bathrooms and kitchens. I have painted my children's dressers in silk paint because it's so durable, stain resistant, and mildew resistant. And I'm not going to lie, kids are pretty gross. They put weird things on their dressers. So having silk all-in-one mineral paint protects my furniture from my children. Lizards, children, dogs, no snakes. But yeah, we've definitely had lizards and creepy crawlies living on top of my painted furniture with silk all mineral paint. Crazy. So I've also painted my kids' bathroom. All of the cupboards in my kids' bathroom are painted in nautical, which is like a really deep, beautiful blue. And it is mildew resistant, so it's perfect for bathrooms and kitchens. My entire kitchen is painted in silk all mineral paint as well. So if I were to be looking for a paint that's going to be tough, that's going to give me a really tough top coat, that's got a built-in primer, that's mildew resistant, that's perfect for like my cupboards or something that's going to get high traffic, silk all mineral paint would be the thing that I would use. Let's talk about what it looks like inside. So silk all mineral paint is great for one color coverage. Now, why do I say that versus chalk mineral paint? Well, because the built-in top coat and the built-in primer means that you're not going to be adding any extra water to this paint. Sometimes when you're painting chalk mineral paint, you're like, oh, I want to smooth it out. I want to make it super thin. I want to have no lines at all. This paint already does that because it has that built-in top coat, built-in primer, and it's self-leveling. But if you were to add water to this paint, you would take the risk of it losing its full properties, right? Its strength properties, because of the built-in products inside of this paint. So you saw me with Terra, you saw me dip into Terra, how thick and chunky it was, right? How delicious it was. This paint is a lot thinner. This paint is definitely thinner. It has the ability to give you some great coverage. The color I'm going to show you today is called Quiet Cove. When I paint with silk all mineral paint, I like to use a smooth synthetic brush. A smooth synthetic brush is going to help you cover the area well and minimize any brush strokes. Remembering this paint is self-leveling, so you're not going to need to worry about any marks. When I paint with silk all mineral paint, I feel like everything looks like it's being sprayed on versus painted on. And it technically glows because of the satin top coat that's inside this paint. It's very glowy. So this is my favorite paint to go to for all in one color. If I'm painting a dresser, one color. For bathrooms, for kitchens, for kids' furniture, anything that you might need that extra little durable paint for, this is the paint that's going to do it. You do need to know that this paint takes approximately 30 days to like cure up real hard. So be aware that even if you're finished and you're done and you walk away because you don't have to add a top coat, you still want to wait 30 days for heavy usage, okay? So this paint, since it has that built-in top coat, you can paint it on your piece and you're done. You're done. You don't have to come back in and add another top coat to your project, right? Because it has that built-in top coat right inside. And you can see right there how thick and how beautiful that paint goes on. It's always so smooth. But I do recommend for silk to use a smooth synthetic brush. And honestly, if you have a brush called the Scarlet, it fits perfectly inside this little 16-ounce container. You can actually get this paint in a majority of sizes, and really big sizes, I think even bigger than the 32 ounce. So silk all mineral paint, perfect for kitchens, kids, anything that you might need that mildew resistant for. I've painted my outdoor planters in this, and they've held up beautifully, beautifully. Smooth synthetic brush, and you can find silk all mineral paint with a ton of colors. What did I paint in silk recently? I'm trying to think. I think I did Acadia, which is a beautiful dark green on end tables recently. That was gorgeous, really rich, and they totally look like $1,000,000. They look really good too. This paint line looks amazing with stain. Like if you were to stain the top of your projects and paint the base, so good, so good. So let's put this one down on the floor, and then we're going to move on to the OG at Chalk Mineral Paint. What's the OG at Chalk Mineral Paint, and what's OG? I think it's the old girl, right? Doesn't OG stand for old girl? I just know it means like the first thing. I think I learned off at Desperate Housewives. The OG. The OG. All right. What am I talking about? What is it? Chalk mineral paint, regular Dixie Belle chalk mineral paint. Now, let me tell you, again, on this sheet, I don't even think they're all on here because there's more than this. I know there's more than this. And there will be more than this because there's always new colors coming out around the corner. So chalk mineral paint is my go-to paint for anything like ombre blending. And when I say ombre blending, it's just simply blending more than one color choice together. I did a piece last week in beautiful vintage duck egg blue with a creamy white center. It's so simple to get a gorgeous ombre vibe with this paint. I use regular chalk mineral paint for everything. For everything. I've painted walls in chalk mineral paint even. Everything in my house has been painted, I'm not going to lie. So you can find all of these colors at the Dixie Belle website, and they have a ton of colors. So let's talk a little bit about chalk mineral paint and how I apply it. I'm going to open it up. Yikes, I don't want to make too big of a mess. The color I grabbed to show you today is called Savannah Mist. The favorite brush for me for chalk mineral paint depends, because there's a couple of different ways that you can apply it. Remember we talked about Terra paint and stippling your paint on to get a textured finish? You can do that with this paint too. You just need a natural fiber brush. Or we talked about silk all mineral paint being nice and smooth and even. You can do that too. All you need is a smooth synthetic brush. So you can get the finish that you want depending on the brushes that you use, okay? All right, there's also another tool that I like to promote when we talk about chalk mineral paint. This is a spray misting bottle filled with water. Why do you need this? And why do I love it? Well, let me tell you, when you're blending more than one color together, you need to blend when your paint is still wet. So if I'm painting this whole entire thing, by the time I get from the edges to the middle, the edges might start to get dry already, right? And if I'm pushing a couple of colors together, I'm going to spray it with this in order to keep my paint movable, right? Keeping it wet keeps it movable. All right, let's look at it and see what it looks like. So again, it's in between Terra and in between silk. It's not as thick as Terra and it's not as thin as silk. You can build coverage. I would tell you that the darker colors definitely have the ability to coat things just a little bit faster. So things like collard greens or in the navy or caviar, you might not need as much paint as if you picked a very light color. Remember, if you used a primer that's white, you're always going to use less paint no matter what you're doing. All right, let's see how this goes down. Can we see all the way up here on Facebook? We can. So you're going to brush it on or stipple it on. It's up to you. This paint can be applied any way you like. All right, this is kind of like the jack of all trades paint. You can do anything you want with chalk mineral paint. So when you're smoothing it on, you're going to get that nice smooth texture. And there's still going to be more lines than when you use silk paint. Remember, the silk paint has that self-leveling property that chalk mineral paint does not have. So when you're painting, if you feel like you want to smooth your paint out and minimize your brush strokes, you would use your spray misting bottle filled with water to help you along on that journey. You also have the option of painting on one even coat, waiting for it to get dry, and sanding back a little bit. If you sanded it and smoothed it just a little bit and then came in with your second coat, you would find you'd get a smoother finish. So when we talk about sealing chalk mineral paint, there is a couple different options. Put this down so I don't spill it on myself. We have wax, which I like to personally apply with a brush. Wax is water-based at Dixie Belle. This is actually the clear, but it goes on and it looks a little cloudy until you rub it in. The way that I like to apply it is with my Best Dang brush. This Best Dang brush has wax only written on it right there, because I remember that this brush right here is just for wax. I don't paint with this brush. This is my waxing brush only. So to cover the surface area you just painted, you would rub the wax on and then buff it back with a cloth. That is an option to seal your chalk mineral paint. Also, when using chalk mineral paint, you can use a clear coat. All right, this clear coat looks a little milky. It's actually clear. This goes on a little milky, which is helpful when you put it on because you can see where you've laid it down, but it's actually clear inside. This is clear coat and satin. We also have a matte flat and we have a high gloss. You can also seal your product with gator hide. Gator hide is Dixie Belle's toughest top coat, okay? It's gonna give you that really tough top coat that you never have to worry about budging. Let's see. Patty's saying she painted her front door in silk. I think I've painted a door in silk, or was it chalk mineral paint? It was chalk mineral paint. When I tell you I painted everything in my house, it's not a lie. Fireplace, planters, walls, kitchen, bathroom, doors. I think my front door might be in silk paint too, Patty. It's black, and I actually stuck a big wood bend on there too to make it super fancy. So when you see somebody talking about what they're using and the value behind the products that they're using, I use this paint every day, all day long. Everything in my house has been touched with Dixie Belle paint in some way, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So how do you put this on to your project? How do you apply your satin clear coat? You have a couple of different options again. You could use a nice smooth brush and brush it on, or you could use something that's like a blue sponge. So this blue sponge is actually one of my favorites. I like to damp my blue sponge so that it becomes a little bit wet with water. And because this is a water-based top coat, you just simply dip it in and pull it across the area that you've painted. You can do it as many times as you like. You can build up that coverage for something maybe your kids would be using. You want a really tough top coat. That is a doable option as well. It's up to you how much you want to apply. So, quick recap for you. We have 3 lines of paint with Dixie Belle. My favorite being Terra clay paint for texture, for artistry, for faux finishes, for that really, really pretty stone look. Terra clay paint is going to be the artisan paint, all right? Anybody can do it. You dab it on. It's not hard. Anybody can do all of these, but to be honest, Terra, I think, is honestly the easiest. It really is. It's going to give you a gorgeous ombre blend just by touching those colors together. All right, next up we talked about silk, which is your built-in primer and your built-in top coat. It is my go-to paint for anything that has a mildew area, things like your kitchens or your bathrooms, things that might get heavy use. It's really, really great paint with that self-leveling. It looks nice and smooth, and it totally glows. All right, and then we have the OG, the original chalk mineral paint from Dixie Belle. Always updating, always available in every size you can imagine. These small shades down here at the bottom are only available in the 4-ounce size, okay? Be prepared. These colors are only in 4-ounce size. But to be honest, you don't need a ton of chalk mineral paint to do a project. When I work on, say, an end table, I did an end table for somebody not too long ago, and when I sat down and calculated out how much it would cost in products, I had a paint color in, I believe it was collard greens, and it was this size. It was a 16-ounce. I used less than a quarter for 2 even coats to cover an entire table. I mean, this much paint out of the whole entire jar. You are going to cover everything in your house. You have so much square footage to cover with chalk mineral paint. So think about it. If you have any questions, if anybody wants to learn a little bit more, I have a ton of tutorials. I'm constantly posting tutorials on my Facebook, on my YouTube, everywhere. I live, breathe, and eat this Dixie Belle paint all day long. It is my job, and I love it. So thank you for joining me today. I hope that you had fun and you learned something. If you're going to try chalk mineral paint for the first time, drop in the comments below. Let me know if I helped you along the way. And if you have questions, shoot me a message. Show me. If you say, hey, I have got a piece with these big knots in it. What do I do? Do I need to prime or not? You would need your bonding boss. I'm happy to help you along on that painting journey. So thanks YouTube, and thanks Facebook for hanging out with me on a Wednesday afternoon here in Richmond, Virginia area. My name is Melissa, owner and artist at the Top Tier RVA and one of your friendly Dixie Belle brand ambassadors. And I will see you next week at 3 p.m. and I will be painting something new. Actually, you know what? See this little piece down here at the bottom? You can only see the tiny little bit from. So this little piece down here that you're seeing peek out from the bottom, I'm going to do that entire thing in Terra clay paint. I'm going to paint an apothecary table, and I'll make a video for you so that if you want to paint, you can do it too. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next week. Still hanging out here on YouTube. I can never find the end screen button. There it is. See you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.